you and I know, have met people with millions and millions and millions of dollars who are not free at all. They're not free at all because they are a slave to the identity. They have boxed themselves into an idea about who and what they are, and they have to match that. So they stop trying, they stop risking, they stop playing, they stop allowing themselves to be a vessel and a channel and dynamic like we are as humans.
What I really loved about meeting with Preston Smiles was he really dug deep into his why, right? His purpose, right? And what drove him to be where he is today. And what's so profound about that is it can be whatever it is for anybody. It's going to be different for everybody. What, like that drive, that push, because all of our experiences is different. How we grew up is all different. There is no cookie cutter approach to this. And what it revealed is anything, right, can happen in our lives to make us look at ourselves and be like, what do I do now? What's the next step? How do I achieve what I really want to be? How do I become who I really want to become? What does that look like? What are the values, right? How do I get there? How do I look deep into who I really am? Not my body, not what I look like, but my spirit. How do I get to that point to where I'm genuinely looking at who I really am and where I want to go?
You know, just a little bit of backstory. I was probably 5 when my parents started sort of arguing about whether I was special needs or not. Mm-hmm. And by the time I got into school, and this is the 80s, I'm 4 years older than you.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm grown, sexy. 40 club, let's go. Right? And so this is the 80s.
40 is the new 30.
Yeah. And they basically just threw me in a classroom and said, like, this kid is not normal. Mm-hmm. Right? I didn't have a standardized brain, and so I didn't do well on standardized tests. And so they threw me in a class with special education and special needs kids who were drooling on themselves and like legitimately not all there in the way that we deem it. And here I am, this able-bodied, super energetic, like tapped in genius when it comes to interpersonal skills, tapped in genius when it comes to sort of understanding energies. Mm-hmm. And yet the school system wasn't set up for that. And you know, my assessment is that it was easier to throw a little black kid like me into a scenario like that. And so from the beginnings of me remembering even having memories, I was not normal. I was even below the other black people, right? So I have this part of me that's like, anybody who society is fucking over, anybody who society sees as a throwaway person, to me, that's my people. Mm. Right? Okay, y'all don't see them, I see them.
Right.
And I know because I felt it. Yeah. Right. And for years, I had these core wounds, and they're still there to a degree, right? We all work through our dharma, and I know that I chose it, right? So that I can experience the highest heights of joy. Now I know that I chose it so I can be a beacon and a light for other humans, period, but especially humans who happen to be Afro-amazing, right? Now I get that I called that in, but back then, and this is for years, I felt so inadequate, so thrown away.
You should coin that term.
Well, Afro-amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel you. We have a similar mission, and also the majority of the people who are able to hear me right now happen to be Caucasian. And so I speak to the heart because I know underneath all the stories that we have about each other, gay, straight, white, black, Christian, Muslim, underneath all of that is only one truth, which is love. Yeah. Right? I know, not believe, Not I'm guessing. I know
That's real.
that God is everywhere at all times, and it can't separate itself.
Yeah.
No matter what the external game is. And yet, I tapped in, came to a portal and said, God, let's do this as a black man. Let's do this as Afro-amazing. And that comes with a certain set of circumstances, which is why I'm so grateful for you and for you and for anybody out there watching this who also happens to be Afro-amazing. Because it is our job, it is our duty, it is our divine curriculum for us to step forward and not just say, but be. Be in such a way that it changes the paradigm. Not just for our people, but for all people, because as you know, we've been persecuted and made into the villain across the planet. You know, I've traveled everywhere.
Yeah, we were just talking about that yesterday.
Everywhere I go. And you can see it in Mexican TV. The lighter, the prettier.
Facts.
You can see it in India.
You go to real Mexico, man, them people dark as mug, man.
But the Mexicans on TV
Right.
basically look like white people. Anything closer to white is good. It's God.
Right.
It's Santa Claus. It's Jesus. It's everything that's great.
Yep.
And anything that's dark is bad and wrong and terrible, and it needs to become more like, become civilized like. And so for me, spending time in the bush in Africa, me running through the slums of India, me having these experiences in the jungles of Panama with literally dark as me, black people, right? Like having those experiences and seeing how they operate, who they be at the core helps me when the personality gets tired. When the Preston that just wants to run away gets tired, I remember who we are.
One of the amazing things about Preston Smiles is he's been doing this for a long time, coaching many people, really helping people elevate their life, their family, their businesses. But more intriguing than that, he really is saving souls. He's getting people to look deeper within themselves, to really appreciate something they've never appreciated before, which is their selves, right? And that allows them to become just better people, better, being more productive members of society, right? To help people evolve, to help humanity evolve. And that's what this is all about, right? Helping each other get to the next level, helping each other really become the best version of ourselves. And he's mastered that. So I really love that about what he's been able to accomplish in the years.
How did you get to this place? How did you get to a place where you understood this principle, right? I really love this process of thinking that God is everywhere at the same time and in us cannot separate. How did you get to that point? When was this in your life?
Man, it's many points. However, I've had quite a few moments where, like, for example, 2015, I was hanging out with a friend, and something innately said, I have to go right now. And just so you have a little backstory, when I was 15 years old, one of my best friends, Scott, called me and he was like, yo, we used to do these things called runouts, where we would go into a liquor store, pretend like we were 21, grab everything and then run out. And so Scott was like, yo, we going to do a run out, we going to drink, we going to smoke. I didn't smoke at the time. And just be dumb kids. And intuitively, and I couldn't even spell intuitive, right, at 15, but intuitively something said, don't go. And so I've been practicing following that since then because I didn't go. And he said, yo, you come on. I'm like, no, I'm gonna chill. He's like, bitch, come outside.
Right.
Here. I'm like, no, I'm gonna chill. He's like, all right, catch you tomorrow. Within an hour, everybody in that car was shot. And because he got to have the front seat, right? Because we used to battle shotgun, right? Who gets the front seat? Well, Rudy's driving. It's between Preston and Scott. Who gets that front seat? Because he got that front seat, they pulled up to a 7-Eleven, disgruntled man who had just gotten out of prison and had his girlfriend break up with him, sees these stupid teenagers, which I would have been a part of. And Scott looks at him, and the dude looks back, and the dude says, "Hey, what you looking at?" Scott was like, "I'm looking at you, bitch." Turns back to Rudy. Then seconds. Dude gets out of his car, shoots Scott in the head. Boom, dead. Shoots everybody in that van.
Did they all die?
Nope, only Scott. I mean, he died instantly. And so that was number one. First time, boom, intuition. Something said don't go. And I had survivor's guilt. I'm like, why did I say no? Where did that come from? I said yes the night before.
Right.
And the night before that, and the night before that. And so that's 15 years old. Now fast forward to 2015. I'm sitting with a friend in New York. We're having a conversation just like this. Intuition hits again. Get up, go. Get up, go. Like, yes. Go to get those boots you said you wanted to get. I'm like, yo, homie, you know what? I'm going to have to cut this short. I got to go get these boots. So I follow that yes. And I can feel it in my body. There's a thing that happens, bro. This has happened multiple times. This is how I met my wife. Same thing. I feel it bubbling up, so I say yes. And I just trust and trust. And so I get on the train. I get to the train station. I miss the train. Literally, it's pulling off as I'm running down the thing. I'm like, but I know enough because it's happened so many times. Mm-hmm. It's happened so many times. I know enough not to trust the divinity of this beautiful unfolding, this beautiful dance called life. And so train goes by. I have to wait 15 minutes. I get on the train. I get off at the stop. I put it in my GPS. I'm not from New York. I don't know nothing about New York. I put it in my GPS, walking, and it takes me the wrong way. So now I'm 30 minutes behind from getting to this particular spot. So I walk. I get into the, not Neiman Marcus, but one of those like fancy New York spots. I go up to the third floor. I pick up a pair of boots. I'm like, oh, these are dope. Intuition says, go downstairs right now. I'm like, bro, I literally just got upstairs. I'm literally holding the boots.
Yeah.
And something's like, you got to go downstairs right now. So I'm like, put the boots down, walk downstairs. I walk out that door. I turn left. I take maybe 3 steps and I hear, skirt, no. Look up. There's a woman flying through the air. She lands on her head. Her brains splatter out the back of her head. And I instantly knew. It's like I'm being used. There's a reason why I'm here. Right? I knew at that moment, instantly. Whew, I rush in. It was so bad that people would look and they'd be like, oh, that kind of thing. I rushed in, and at that same time, a doctor and a nurse didn't know each other. Rushed in. So they're touching her pulse. Ma'am, are you okay? Ma'am. And every time they touch her pulse, blood comes out. Her name is Amelia Sturrental, for any of you guys who want to look this up. Amelia Sturrental. You can find it on the internet. So they're touching her pulse, and they're trying to help her. And I realized, this is why you're here, right? These are first responders, but you're a first responder. You've been chosen since childhood to be there for humans who need you. So this is one of those moments. So I go down to her feet and I begin to pray with her. And I just tap in and I close my eyes and I can hear things happening. There's a lot happening. But I tap into her and I say, hey, if this is that time, I'm here with you. But if you're ready to stay, I'm also here with you. And I go into like a little mini vortex. And there's a moment where I literally knew in my body that she was about to take her last breath. And so I opened my eyes and she, and so for me, this was another one of those moments where I'm like, I see you, God. I needed to see and experience someone be in the body and then not. I needed to have the gift of knowing that a soul left the body. She didn't die. She just left the body. Where's the she? She's not in that skin suit. And so I've had enough of those to recognize that there is no opposite to the thing called life. There's only lifing, and it does that on this side of the veil, aka like body, human, and on the other side. And when I watch the trees and the leaves and the ocean and the ebbs and the flows, it's all transmutation. It's all feeding itself. It's all interdependence. It's all this beautiful, magical, what is it called? Acacia forest. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Where the nutrients feed everything, and that.
Yeah. So is an important principle actually in science that states, so we only pass life on, right? You know, when we die, we don't really die. We're actually, this life force or this transfer of energy is actually just passing on to something else. You know, I don't actually create life. I just pass life. See what I'm saying? Life just continues to process and go. Now, where we as human beings, we call this our soul. Now, where our soul goes afterwards, I'm not sure. But that process of where our life goes somewhere else outside of this skin bag that you said. So, no, I resonate with that 100%, man.
Preston comes from LA. And he's really in tune with the culture. He's really in tune with everything that's going on. And I love when I'm talking to somebody that's tapped in, because you're able to relate to him at such a ground level. It becomes so visceral because, you know you're talking to somebody that's genuine and they're passionate about being genuine, and it's real for them. You know, you meet so many people that's faking it, that really is not out here for the impact. They say they are, but they're really not. They're really out here for the paycheck. And it's, you know, not often you can actually meet somebody that genuinely wants to help and be a part of progressing humanity forward. So.
Yeah. So this led you to really grapple with who you are and what you're meant for. This was kind of like a full circle from when you was a kid to when you became an adult. Now what? You learn this, you're confronted with the reality that this is what you're here for, this is your purpose. What's the next move?
The next move is learning how to be so deep into the now that I become a channel, that I become used by spirit. Oftentimes people will ask me, what's your intention? You know, what's your purpose? My purpose is to be the living embodiment of God's love as a father, husband, and transformational facilitator. Now, how that manifests itself, that's not my business. That will be revealed on a need-to-know basis. And so for me, my job in this thing is to say yes to what is handwritten on my soul, is to say yes to my divine curriculum. And that literally changes all the time, and yet it doesn't. It's the same thing when I wrote the book Love Louder, when I wrote the book Now or Never with my wife. That was a channel, that was a part of.
Right.
When I go to build clean water wells in Africa, when I go take a piss in the bathroom and the dude next to me makes eye contact. For me, there is no separation. There's no time when I turn it on now and then I turn it off here. My job is to serve humanity at every corner.
Right.
That means, like, hey, I gotta serve me in order to even be able to be available for you, right?
Right.
So I fill my cup, I give from the overflow. I fill my cup, I give from the overflow. And what that looks like is different. Yeah. I tell people this all the time, like, real talk. The reason why I can't miss as it pertains to success is I'm planting forest, right? I understand the principle that the key to living is giving, and my giving doesn't start or stop when I know I can get something from you, because I believe in the principle of I made this up. It's called the double boomerang effect, where I throw a boomerang here, but I receive someone else's here. Right? And so I'm not attached to the boomerang, the one I threw coming back to me. There are humans on this planet right now, even in 2020, I paid for 2 surgeries, a funeral, a bunch of groceries, light bills. 3 days ago, I sent somebody $1,000 just on the strength. I knew he was struggling. I knew
Being of service.
right? Just what can I do? And that's just that. Then there's just the energy. There's the love. There's the presence. There's the hugs. There's a seeing somebody and actually seeing them, not just the idea of them, you know?
Yeah, that's what you call true acceptance. When you accept people for who they are, then you can meet them where they're at, and that's how people truly evolve. Being able to accept people without the judgment and being able to respect their humanity, being able to respect their life without judging them in the sense that I'm better than them or they're trash, allows you to really come from the ground level to impact their lives.
100%. My work is about like, how can I bring that same level of love and compassion and showing up for the everyday person or the underdog to the dude who may actually hate you, right? Like, probably once every 3 weeks, I get a nigger, this, that, and the other. I get some heat.
How do you deal with that?
It's tricky. Sometimes, and I understand that Einstein says that no problem can be solved at the level of consciousness from which it was created.
Right.
However, sometimes when I'm in the personality and because of where I come from, like my parents used to tell me, if somebody hits you, your job is to hit them 10 times harder. And if you can't do it with your fist, find a brick. If you can't find a brick, find a chair. Whatever you got to do. If they hit you, you don't come back here crying. You don't do X, Y, Z. So I'm literally having to go against that programming. You hit me, so I hit you back harder. You hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you even more. Right? That some of that's still in my DNA. And for right now, what I do is I'll say I love you, and then I'll block them. Every once in a while.
What do you think that comes from? Why do you think people have that much hate and vitriol? Let's just speak towards you. Why do you think people have that? What do they see you as in order for them to even want to say that?
I think it's hard for a lot of people to be in the presence of somebody who believes in themselves like a mofo. And not just in themselves, but I'm convicted that I'm being used. And, whenever we take a position, we immediately create opposition.
Whenever you take a position, you create opposition. That's 100%. True.
And so I represent a threat to, in those guys' minds, to white power. And so...
because you own yourself. You're not submitting to what they deem is correct or what they think is the King's English or what they think is right for whatever their culture is that they think is superior. You're operating in your truest, freest self, and that in itself offends those people.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think it's also, I'm willing to call a spade from what I see. And
how dare you have your own opinion, right?
Exactly. I think that they're used to, especially quote unquote influencers or people in the personal development space, whatever you want to call it. They're used to those people sort of tiptoeing and trying to make sure everybody likes them.
Yeah.
And that's not...
shut up and dribble.
Yeah, so I'm not post about that. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not just gonna shut up and dribble.
Yeah.
Right? You're not gonna come in here and punk me. And it's okay if I quote unquote lose money, because I'm willing to stand where I'm standing.
Be free, man. Freedom, I always say this, man. If money equates to freedom, but you don't have the freedom to use it, it's not freedom.
Real talk. And so financial freedom is an oxymoron, because I'm not free if I need finances to make me free. Finances own me at that point, right? The followers own me at that point. The booty injections own me at that point. The car owns me at that point. Anything I need in order to feel free owns me in that moment. And so the game, that's why I call myself a personal freedom and embodiment coach, because there's nothing more important than personal freedom. You and I know, have met people with millions and millions and millions of dollars who are not free at all. They're not free at all because they are a slave to the identity. They have boxed themselves into an idea about who and what they are, and they have to match that. So they stop trying, they stop risking, they stop playing, they stop allowing themselves to be a vessel and a channel and dynamic like we are as humans. They become sort of like niche puppets.
But how do they get trapped in that? You work with a lot of these suits, we'll call them.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it that entraps them in that idea that you're just talking about right now? How do they get caught up in this to where they can't break free?
Bro, it goes so far back, and we're a part of it. Like you heard the same things I heard, which is, what are you going to be when you grow up? Right? You say that enough to a kid, you make that kid believe that there's one thing you got to be when you grow up. You put a child, a little boy, in front of a TV. And on that TV, there's Dirty Harry, and there's Rambo, and there's all these different characters that always have the right answer and are all living on their purpose, and they're saving everybody, and they're killing the Indians while being strong cowboys and all of these things. And you expect that little boy who's being programmed, his psyche, his nervous system, all of it is being formed in that moment. You expect that little boy to be able to break free 5, 10, 6, 16 years later? Of course not. It's programmed in there. We are social and historical beings, just like we are linguistic beings or quantum beings. We are biological beings. But the social and historical part, right? We're born into beliefs and interpretations. As American men, we are born into a belief and an interpretation.
Almost becomes part of our DNA.
Boom. Until, right? It's the conversation about, and you will know this probably better than me because you're nerdier than me. An object in motion stays in motion, and unless an equal force or something like that hits it, right? So it's like the idea of we're going to stay in that motion. We're going to stay in that social and historical programming until something has to come in and say,
what's more powerful than that DNA, though?
Yeah.
That takes some serious refinement.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about this.
Yes.
He goes into detail about how to reprogram your mind. He believes that your programming happens between 0 to 4 years old. Mm-hmm. So which goes in line with what you're saying. Yep. Like everything happens early on.
Yep.
Well, it actually starts before with your parents. Mm-hmm. And then what they teach you, you're so programmed at that age that it takes a lot of re-engineering of your brain, of your mind, rewiring in order to actually overcome that. But that takes repetition, affirmations, understanding the right strategies, coaching. The brain is plasticity, right? Mm-hmm. So how do we take and mold it and shape it in a way that really rewrites our DNA, right? In a way that it can. Mm-hmm. That takes a lot. So are there some strategies that you particularly have done that has allowed you to transform that thought process? Because I know you were talking earlier about how you're still trying to reprogram the thinking that your parents did. What are some tools and tips that you've done to help you kind of like at least overcome some of that?
Yeah. So one of the things I want to be, or what's true for me, is that the mind is not just in the area that we call our head.
Yeah,
the mind
prefrontal
is
cortex
in my finger. The mind is in my leg. The mind is everywhere.
Yeah,
and there's 3 centers of intelligence: head, heart, gut. Or the heart emits its own frequency. The gut has an entire world that is essentially regulating everything else. And so
it's the biochemical.
Yes, exactly. One of the most important pieces is what I call the principle of elevation requires separation. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's like we got to give up to go up. We got to give up to grow up. And not that up is better, right? Because it's not about better. It's about alignment. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is in alignment with my being? And the only way to find out is to experiment.
a lot of people experience what they call separation anxiety, where there is a big anxiety built up in the idea that they have to change in that type of way. You know?
I get that.
Yeah.
The question I would ask anybody is it working? Because if it isn't, I get the whole conversation of this is the devil I know. This is the devil I know. Okay. So you get to have what you're having.
Yeah.
And stop complaining and ride the wave and appreciate it. But if it doesn't work for you, if it's not aligned for you, if it doesn't feel good, then, you know, those who are willing to risk it all position themselves to also gain it all.
Wow.
And so, game on.
So the level of risk you take also determines the level of rewards you take. That's dope, man.
So for me, I am good at practicing playing. I'm good at risking. It's calculated risk, but I still risk. And the risking most of the time is psychological bullshit. It's like Shakespeare said, a coward lives 1,000 deaths. Right? It's the rehearsing. It's the mental rehearsing of something in the future. We're making up something that may happen over the worst case scenario. So you're already dying before you even get to that moment. And almost every time, it never ends up being that. And so for me, I'm prophesying about the future. Right? I say to my clients all the time, speak what you seek until you see what you said. Right? Like, speak it into prophesy. Decide.
That's a bar, man.
I hear you.
That's a bar.
That's the game, though,
yeah.
Right? We speak it into existence. We get the physiology and the biology aligned with that. Now, how do we do that? We stop ingesting things that no longer serve us. And I hear you, for those of you guys in the background, like, yo, you say that to Oreo? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Because I bless these Oreos. Real talk, though. So making sure, and I'm not talking about just limiting, you have to be a vegan in order to be in the line. No, you just got to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And so there's that. There's the speaking into existence. There's shifting the biology, literally. I have something, and I have my clients do this. I have them put 3 alarms in their phone. And some of them I say, we got to do 7, right? But we start with 3. So 3 alarms. Every time the alarm goes off, it's your joy alarm, right? The alarm goes off, you go right into your joy. Feel what it feels like to just recalibrate the entire nervous system to the frequency of joy for no reason at all. Reasonless joy is one of the most powerful things you can do to rewrite and be above the genetics, right? So I was so lit up for years.
You know, I want to piggyback off that a little bit. Reasonless joy. That really is just a form of gratitude, right? Yes. Because if you have a certain amount of gratitude for just waking up, this creates this reasonless joy that you're talking about. Yeah. So just the mundane things, having gratitude for them, just appreciating the people in your life, the blades of grass that you're walking on, breathing air, just being really present and having gratitude creates that joy that you were just talking about. Yeah.
Now it's hard. It can be challenging to get there if you've swallowed the virus of the mind of the idea about what successful is. Right? So back in the day, it's to say keeping up with the Joneses, right? There's another version of that, which is a bunch of people trying to hashtag relationship goals, hashtag goals, hashtag, like trying to get to an idea about what good or great is. Right? So the first place you got to start is like, you know, and I've had the good fortune of sitting with, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people who literally don't have clean water. They drink from a hole in the ground with mud and cow shit next to that hole with little guppies and things inside of that hole. I've watched little kids and adults drink from those holes. And so for me, it's easier for me to understand how blessed we truly are because I've detached myself from the virus of the mind about what society has told me successful is. I've already won, bro. And I mean that. I feel that daily. I already won. And the moment I wake up and I can actually put cloth on my and I say right hand move and that joint moves, The moment I'm cognitive of like the fact that I can go to a sink and pour water into something, I've already won.
Right.
So everything everything else is a cherry on top. It's not the whole cake. It's just extra. And so what you appreciate appreciates. What you celebrate in yourself and others gets repeated. So I'm appreciating everything in such a way that it becomes a vibrational frequency and I become a match.
It increases in value.
Bro, spirit can only do for us what it can do through us. The game is to be a channel for spirit.
How do you open that up though? Let's say I'm a person and I want to do that, but I just feel broken. How do I open that channel up to receive?
One, because energy doesn't speak English. It just gets trapped in the body like a living library. So energy doesn't speak English. It doesn't know that this is that moment when and not you, but that moment when you were raped by your uncle.
Yeah.
It doesn't know that was that point when they called you a f***. It doesn't know about that moment where you were humiliated by that girl, right? It's just energy stuck in the body. So what I do with my clients is I get them into a primal state. And we do primal screams and we beat our chests and we allow the energy.
I've seen some of those videos.
Yes, the stuck energy to move. Because it doesn't care. It just wants to circulate. Everything is flowing. Everything is flowing. Everything is moving, shifting, and changing right now. The cells of my body, the air that's in this room, everything. Your hair is growing now. Everything is circulating now. The problem is that we get caught, we get trapped, we hold on to things and we don't want to let go because we become addicted to certainty. We become addicted to being right about everything. So getting in the body. I have my clients, I'll say, hey, listen, for the next 7 days, I need you every day to turn on a song that lights you up. And I want you to dance like nobody's looking, like for real, for real. I don't want you twerking. I want you literally just losing your shit. If there was a video camera, everything in your apartment would be knocked over.
I get it. Unfocused dancing, just letting you be free without, I got you. Yeah, that's.
Primal screams.
Yeah.
Ecstatic dance. Drinking a lot more water. Being still and listening. Most people are so quick to get to every piece of technology they can with any silent moment. Because they want to stay distracted from themselves.
Yeah.
Right? I get it. It is not easy to do human on this planet at this time. I'll do a workshop, men and women. Right? I have one called Unleash the Beast, which is just for men, and I have 2 workshops that my wife and I do called the Bridge Experience. Either workshop, this is thousands of people. If we have 100 people in the room, 85 of them have been molested or sexually abused. That's almost the whole room. Raped. Dudes too. Straight up. So that tells me if I do that in Costa Rica, in Africa, in London, in Australia, all of Australia, in LA, if I'm doing these workshops everywhere, and I have 100 people every single time, most of the room has been sexually abused in some form or fashion, that is telling me something about how pent up, how much trauma is still inside of people's bodies that they haven't processed. And those are just the people who walked in my room. I said, hey, check this out. You guys notice almost all of you have the same stuff, right? You were experimenting and your mom caught you and she shamed you. You were masturbating, whatever the case may be. And since then, you've been hiding it. That's why the porn industry is so big. The porn industry is big because there's a bunch of, especially dudes,
still taboo,
who have so much shame about what is natural to their bodies.
Yeah.
Because when they were 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, they had the urge to merge with another. And they said, no, that is bad. That is wrong. Put that thing away. You need to be bigger than the urge to merge. Your biology is lying to you, little boy. God will punish you. God is watching you. So when you touch your dick, God knows that you're sinning. You dirty little fucker.
So people are operating out of fear,
bro,
and shame.
Lots of shame.
Instead of love and abundance.
Yes. Shame and guilt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shame and guilt.
Yeah. So that doesn't allow them to be them true selves.
Mm-mm.
So therefore they have to do it in secret. And it becomes,
Shame.
exactly.
Stacks on top of
It
it.
becomes compounded.
Boom.
Yeah.
You tapped in, bro. You got it. You get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
One of the most difficult things that's hard for us to realize is we've all been through some sort of trauma. Confronting that trauma is the difficult thing. And when you're able to release that trauma, you're able to really talk about it, you become more relatable, but more importantly, the healing that it takes for that helps other people heal as well. And I know a lot of people might take a look at that and be like, oh, well, I don't really have trauma I need healing from. Yeah, but the truth is, there's something deep down inside that has either from a lack of something or too much of something to where we need to really look at ourselves and try to become a better version of that. And so, understanding our trauma, seeking help for it and just being able to talk about it, I think really is an important factor of evolving into our best selves.
So if you're talking to a young man right now,
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to find their way.
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell them?
I tell them to play. Play is the number one way to find your way. And I also tell him, you can't miss. There is nothing you do or experience on this planet that is outside of your purpose. We've been taught to believe that we find our purpose and then we do that thing. But the truth with a capital T, not lowercase t, the truth with a capital T is everything that one experiences along their journey is a part of the grand purpose, which is to reflect and reveal life, God, Buddha, Krishna, Allah, in only the way that we can. That's our purpose. Now, the vision and the mission changes on a need-to-know basis, but we all only have one purpose. And that is to do isness, to do God in the way that only we can.
Right. So our purpose remains the same, but the way we execute changes.
That.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Dog. That's dope. Yeah, I can't wait to really share more with this amazing individual. This is only the first of many. Me and this guy's tapped in for real. Not only on a spiritual level, but on a physical, business level, all that, man. And I can't wait to share more with you guys. So, shout out to the true believers, and I'll see you guys in the next one.